All right, so let me move on from where I continue where I left off. Article, I believe it's 16. Indigenous spirituality. 1. Indigenous people have the right to freely exercise their own spirituality and beliefs, and by virtue of that right to practice, develop, transmit, and teach their traditions, customs, and ceremonies, and to carry them out in public and private, individually and collectively. That's what's going on right now on YouTube as a major form for bringing back and bringing, I believe Yah is bringing the truth to a people, waking them up. I believe that's going on right now. 2. No indigenous people or persons shall be subject to pressure or imposition or any other type of coercion measures that impair or limit their right to freely exercise their indigenous spirituality and beliefs. And then and for time's sake, I just said C3 and 4. Article 17, indigenous family. The family is a natural and fundamental group unit of society. Indigenous people have the right to preserve, maintain, and promote their own family system. States shall recognize, respect, and protect the various indigenous forms of family, in particular the extended family, as well as the forms of matrimonial union, filiations, descent, and family name. In all cases, gender and generational equity shall be recognized and respected. 2. In matter relating to custody, adoption, severance of family ties, and related matters, the best interest of the child, court, and other relevant institutions shall take into account the right of every indigenous child in community with member of his or her people to enjoy his or her own culture, to profess and practice his or her own religion, or to use his or her own language. In that regard shall look to the indigenous law of the people concerned and shall consider their points of view, rights, and interests, including the position of individuals, the family, and the community. Okay. Article 18, health. 1. Indigenous people have the collective and individual right to enjoyment of the highest attainable standard of physical, mental, and spiritual health. 2. Indigenous people have the right to their own health system and practices, as well as the use and protection of the plants, animals, minerals, and vital interests and other natural resources for medical use in their ancestral lands and territories. States shall take measure to prevent and prohibit indigenous people and individuals from being subject to research programs, biological or medical experiments, that's gang stalking, all of that, they're in violation, as well as sterilization without their prior free and informed consent. Targeting. Likewise, indigenous people and persons have the right, as appropriate, to access their data, medical records, and documentation of research conducted by individuals and public and private institutions. 4. Indigenous people have the right to use, without any discrimination whatsoever, all the health and medical care institutions and services accessible to the general population. State, in consultation and coordination with indigenous people, shall promote intercultural systems or practices in the medical and health services provided to indigenous communities, including training of an indigenous technical and professional healthcare personnel. 5. States shall guarantee the effective exercise of the rights contained in this article. Then Article 20. Right to protection of a healthy environment. Indigenous people have the right to live in harmony with the nature and to a healthy, safe, sustainable environment, essential condition for full enjoyment of the right to life, to their spirituality, worldview, and collective well-being. 2. Indigenous people have the right to conserve, restore, and protect the environment and to manage their lands, territories, and resources. 3. Indigenous people are entitled to be protected against introduction of, abandonment, dispersion, transit, indiscriminate use, or deposit of any harmful substance that can negatively affect indigenous communities, lands, territories, and resources. Indigenous people have the right to conservation and protection of the environment and the productive captivity of their lands or territories and resources. States shall establish and implement assistance programs for indigenous people for such conservation and protection without discrimination. Let's see. Let's see where I'm at. 24. Treaties, agreements, and other constructive arrangements. 1. Indigenous people have the right to recognition, observance, and enforcement of the treaties, agreements, and other constructive arrangements concluded with their states and their successors in accordance with their true spirit and intent in good faith, and to have the same be respected by the states. States shall give due consideration to the understanding of indigenous people as regard to treaties, agreements, and other constructive arrangements. 2. When disputes cannot be resolved between the parties in relation to such treaties, agreements, and other constructive arrangements shall be submitted to be competent bodies, including regional and international bodies, by the states or indigenous people concerned. 3. Nothing in this declaration may be interpreted as diminishing or eliminating the right of the indigenous people contained in treaties, agreements, and other constructive arrangements. Now, I have to ask Abba to forgive me, because I will never take away his glory. Concerning this, I actually left when they was giving me the jive, right? But as I was in the car driving, that's why I said I got to give him his credit, because he's the one that had me to turn the car around, and through his spirit connected with my spirit and told me to turn the car back around and go back and basically say, like he told Moses, tell him I am sent you. so in saying that, basically I said they said go confirm to the state, but I'm not subject to the fictitious state. So I said I wouldn't confer with the sovereign state, Almighty Yah, and he told me to go back and tell you that I am the state in authority in this matter. So I'm giving you the authorization to go ahead and record this document. Okay, let me move on, because I won't forget. I will not deny Abba his glory. Okay. All right, let me go ahead and make a new video to the next video.